right, well, welcome to our second mini episode where we are just kind of talking about some important things for just a little bit. Not very long.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the necessity of consistency. It's pretty, I like how that goes together.
Rolls
necessity
off the
of
It's very important that we be consistent. And Brian, you thought a lot about this.
So let's see. I've been in ministry for about 20 years. It doesn't really seem that long because I'm so young and youthful.
Oh yeah.
But I also so I got my first. I started as an intern about 20 years ago. I got my first full-time ministry position in 2004. So that's about 16 years now. And through that time, I have seen one of the biggest things to having kids and become mature Christian adults is consistency.
Yeah.
You know, I can with some accuracy tell you if your child is going to stay with the faith and hold on to it or not. Not 100% because there's always variables, but if you are consistent with the things of the Lord, especially things of church, and we'll talk more about that in a minute, why that's so important.
Yeah.
But if you're consistent with the things of the Lord, then your children will, on the whole, stick to their faith.
Yeah.
If you're up and down all around, this season you go to church,
that next you
don't, whatever, then it's going to be a hard road. Have you noticed that in your ministry as well?
Absolutely. There are definitely, times where you see the way people are just living their lives and the inconsistency in biblical and godly things. And then it's borderline predictable. It's very close to being able to say, I know what's going to happen here.
Right.
And it very often tends that way. And that's something, I love that you brought this up because something that God's been just showing me over the past several years is how important it is to have regular patterns of discipline in your life. That's what consistency is. It's just a regular pattern of discipline. It makes life so much easier. It's so much easier to lift 10 pounds over and over and over again than it is to try to lift, 1,000 pounds at one time. And so that's what consistency does, is it breaks things down and it makes it something that's a regular part of your life.
Yeah. It goes back to our study that we did on this podcast. When we first started out, we did nothing less, settle for nothing less. And it talked about spiritual disciplines and consistency in those things helps your children to grow and be spiritually mature. Once again, I've noticed this in a couple of situations where parents come to us and say, man, I'm really struggling with my child. This is happening. And it's like, man, they haven't been in church in 2 years.
Right.
Or they've been a couple times. And once again, church is not the be all end all. I don't want people to get really legalistic about their church attendance, but I do think being involved in church and being a part of a regular time where you are focusing on the Lord is important. So you are going to church, setting aside this time to say the things of the Lord are important. God is important we are prioritizing that. So we are now going to go somewhere and be a part with other believers to worship the Lord, hear teaching, and apply this to our lives. This is why church attendance is so important. Not just church attendance for church attendance sake, but making this a regular part of what you do as a family.
That's right. Yeah, you're not going to be growing in your spiritual walk if you're not exercising spiritual muscles.
Right.
And so you've got to be going to church and being around people who are going to help keep you accountable. I mean, that's just the way life is. I don't do things unless I really, really want to do it, or I know that somebody's counting on me.
Right. So much of life is all about proximity. So if I want to be close, have a close relationship with somebody, I need to be around them.
Absolutely.
I need to be in their proximity.
That's right.
Same thing with, you and I have talked about how we go to the gym. I can't just will myself and desire to be in shape.
Right.
I have to be in the proximity of the gym.
Right. That's right.
And work out. If you want to grow in your faith, you have to put yourself around the things of God.
That's right.
You must be around the things of God. And one of the greatest places you can do that is at church. Of course, you can do that at home.
Right.
But there's never a focus. You know, pastor likes to say, no one cares about the spiritual condition of your child except for the family and the church.
That's right.
That's it.
Yep.
And so we've got to make sure that we are consistently going to church. Don't let other things steal that from you. Listen, when my kids wake up on Sunday morning, there's never a question of where we're going to go.
Right.
They don't get up and say, well, what are we going to do today, Daddy?
Right.
You know, they don't call me Daddy anyway, but
Daddy,
Daddy, what are we going to do today? No, they know Sunday morning we're going to church.
Well, you know, I had a student tell me recently, they said, not your kid, but another kid told me, you know, sometimes I don't want to come to church. But I know that that's not an option. Like I'm going to go to church.
Right.
And what's cool is like 95 to 98% of the time, I love being here. And that's the thing is, you know, a lot of times when it's an option, when church is an option, it's much easier to really hate being there.
Yes.
When it's just the norm, when it's what you do, it's so much easier to love it.
Plus, it's hard for them to develop good friendships if they're not here.
Yeah, that's impossible. That you're not going to have good friendships if you are not consistently coming and being around people that you
sometimes
want to be
parents
friends with.
We got to make them do it even if they don't want to do it.
Yep.
You know, I mean, it's just sometimes we know what's best for them. And we've got to push them to do things that are outside of their comfort zone.
You think God made it that way?
Man, I don't know, maybe. This is just something that's been on my heart. And as a parent, as a former youth pastor, as now a children's pastor, I think it's so important that parents take this seriously. Get your family to church every week.
Yep.
If you're on vacation, if you're sick, I understand.
Yeah,
but otherwise,
that's fine, yeah.
if you got to work, I get it. But get to church, rearrange your schedule, do whatever you can. Men,
prioritize it.
Men, it's time for us to lead our families.
Yeah.
Don't let your wife lead your family in this way. You step up and say, we're going to church this Sunday, where it's that important. We are going to be consistent about it. Now, I get it. We're in COVID time right now, so you may not be able to be in church in person, and I get that. But maybe you're going to say as a parent, we're going to get online at this time and watch our church. I think it's harder. It's harder because it's online.
I agree.
So you've got to put the extra effort into it.
Oh, absolutely. I 100% agree with that. So yeah, we've got to if it matters, then it matters, and we've got to make it matter.
Right.
And so that's what we've got to do as men. That's what we've got to do. Families, moms, wives out there who are listening, help your husband if he's struggling with this. You know, help him. You know, don't nag him to death, but definitely like, hey, you know, get onto him a little bit if he's not helping you, you know, making that a priority.
Yep.
That's good. That's good. So we encourage you.
I'll get off my soapbox now, but I think it's that important. So let's do it.
Very important. So thanks for listening, and we'll just catch you next time.
We'll see you next time.